Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the next episode of the Home Brewed Adventures podcast. I'm joined again by EQ Gamer, and we have a special guest on the show. Welcome, Perry Lovewhistle. You guys can find him on YouTube.
What's up, guys?
So I think we should just jump right into it. We have a few questions for you that we hope that you could answer.
All right, shoot.
All right.
Mainly questionnaire episode.
Yeah. Do you want to ask the first question?
Sure. So, a question that I've been wondering for a while, Perry, has been when and why did you begin playing EverQuest, and what era of the game do you consider to be the best?
Oh, that's a really good question. So there aren't many things that I get to honestly say this about. I say it a lot, but I'm only actually telling the truth when I talk about EverQuest.
All right.
I was into EverQuest before it was cool.
Really?
I remember in late 1998 when I heard from a friend of mine about how they were going to make a MMORPG that was 3D, and I was really excited about it. And at the time, you could go to EverQuest.com, and it was just the loading screen. You know what comes up when you're logging into the game, the blue screen with the screenshots of different things.
Right.
And it was just that loading screen, and it said "More coming soon." So that's when I got into EverQuest. And then my stepdad, who is actually a way bigger nerd than I ever was when I showed him the information that they were putting out about it, because he was big into Ultima Online at the time.
Right.
He told me that this was a Telnet MUD, which is something I'd never heard of that before him. But MUDs were multi-user dungeons that you would play over, like, basically command line.
Yeah.
And it's automated Dungeons and Dragons, basically. And that's, like, he explained to me that that's what EverQuest was, and that's actually what sort of set it apart from Ultima Online and later Asheron's Call and World of Warcraft, stuff like that, because it's really Dungeons and Dragons set up so that multiple people can play and the dice rolls are done automatically.
Pretty much.
So that's how I got into it, is as I was told from a friend in 1998, hey, check out this cool new thing. And I played from launch. I wasn't a power gamer like I am now. I said it a couple times in my episodes, but I never got to level 35, got past level 35 back in the day on live. And I played up until the Plains of Power expansion, which did nothing to me as a level 35 person, because that was all raid content.
Mainly, yes.
So in my mind, because that's all I experienced, as someone who, like, a super casual player, in my mind, the best era of EverQuest was the Shadows of Luklin expansion. I know as a Project 1999 player, that's kind of heresy, but
it's okay. The Shadows of Luklin, personally, myself, I don't find much wrong with it. I think it kind of added a little bit some unique things to the game, personally. And a lot of people were mad and upset, personally, from what I hear about texture upgrades and everything, like bumping up the pixels on most textures or making some zones look a tad different. I don't think it was really that big of a deal.
Yeah, so that was when they started updating zones, and they started with the character models, which, you know, the character models needed updating, but what they did with them, it just
kind of a little strange.
Yeah, the 3D plate textures, and on top of that, I'm pretty sure, and I haven't looked this up, but I'm pretty sure that the character models in Classic EverQuest, even the Luklin models, were not motion captured. They were all programmed. All the motions were programmed manually, which is why you have really clunky motions. Like, if you use the /dance emote in EverQuest, it's very bad. It's uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah.
It's very uncomfortable to watch.
I've seen the halfling one whenever I'm playing on my druid and someone will, like, give me some buffs or something. I'll do, like, the /dance, and it's just like a little wiggle, and it's so weird to watch.
Yeah.
Personally, me and Battle Guides, or I think it's Lucid Guns now, Uncle Roger in the Discord chat, that is, we discovered Project 1999 when we were playing live one day, and I started getting into seeing kind of the private server side of EverQuest, and kind of, for the longest time, I've wanted to experience classic EverQuest as it was. And then one time I met this other YouTuber who was kind enough to offer me these scanned and clean copies of the ISO format CDs, which I have it on a USB stick still. And that same night, me and my friend, who's currently in Discord with us, Battle Guides or Lucid Guns YT, I think it is now, we set it up that a few days later, and yeah, we've been into it ever since, and it has been a great game.
Yeah, it was really cool when it all happened because I remember we were on live and we kept doing classic things and people would be like, why are you doing that? You know, there's so many better things that you could be doing, but we really wanted to play the classic way. So we went to Cabalus, and I think it's called Bonebinder Warrens. It's just this little like cave system you go down in, and there's like infinite spawned spiders, and we would farm spider silk there. And I remember that same very night he goes, man, I really wish we could play like classic EverQuest. And he was looking for like a month straight trying to find a way to get it. And then he texted me that night. He goes, "Oh my gosh, Caleb, I finally got it. I got the CDs. We can finally play it now." And it was so fun starting that up.
Yeah, the guys at Project 1999 have really done a lot of work, and
they really have.
They spent so much
money. They provide it for free.
Yeah.
And so if you're listening to this, Nilbog and Rogian, big thanks from the whole Project 1999 community.
Yeah,
because I don't know if people are aware of this, but the reason why what they have to do is so much work is because they are replicating source code that no longer exists from like forum posts from
which
20
is very
years
impressive.
Ago.
Yeah,
and it's like people.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, just like it's all hearsay, right? Everything is, oh, I could swear that I got this drop off of this thing in this zone, and there's no way to verify it aside from just like looking at forum posts and chat logs.
Yeah, and it's crazy that they can just pull these few files from this place and these few files from this place, and then they put it all in P9. It's a great thing in itself, obviously, but I don't know, that'd be so cool.
So the reason why I liked Luklin specifically as a casual player was because when they added the city of Charval, so they had done progression quests before. They started progression quests with the monks, because each of the monks in Kanos and Freeport had their own progression quests, and then they made progression quests for each class in the Lizardman city.
Yeah.
When they added Charval, they still had progression quests for each of the classes in the cat person city, but they ended up requiring the other classes to work with. So you actually had to coordinate with someone playing from each class to complete that progression quest. And I just thought that it was like they were still in that era of requiring community to complete the game.
Yeah.
Yes, before Planes of Power, I think.
That's my that would probably be my biggest like complaint about live, is that I guess for some people like nowadays, because like this isn't really an insult, but you don't see many like younger people playing EverQuest anymore, you know what I mean? It's more like people that have like full-time jobs and they don't have much time to play anymore. So I think live makes it easier for them to log on and be able to get high level and do the raids that they want to do without having to spend hours or weeks or years on a character, you know what I mean?
No, absolutely. That's I mean it's with everything, right? Music, movies, video games. You'll have genres that are really popular with a specific generation. And my generation, I'm a millennial. I'm an old millennial. We were the MMO generation, and MMOs are largely dead now. It's not a financially viable business model anymore in the video game world. And most of us are very busy. We can't play a video game like it's a part-time job like we could back in 2005. So so what live is doing as far as like still providing that product for us, and it still is largely for us, that's great too.
Right.
That's a good way to do it. Never thought of it that way. Actually, that's pretty cool.
Right. Okay. So I think that leads us to our next question. What made you choose a ranger?
What made me choose a ranger? Okay, so the ranger on my YouTube channel is I've become known for the ranger because that's obviously what I played as I developed my first 1,000 subscribers. Ranger is not actually my class of choice in EverQuest. So the reason I played a Ranger is because the classes that I wanted to play, I already had characters for, and because EverQuest is such a, especially Project 1999, such an involved game, I just didn't feel like doing those things again. So my first choice in character in EverQuest is always Bard. The Bard in classic EverQuest is something that has not been replicated in any MMO since, and never will be, because, like I said previously, the MMO genre is largely dead.
Right.
Second,
sorry, what were you saying?
No, I was moving on to another class, but if you want to talk about bards, we can do that for hours.
I could not see you being a bard for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I have like a level 13 bard, and bards they're so fun because they're like the fastest XP you can possibly get, and like people that don't play bard, they'll be like, oh yeah, it's crazy, but this class can do this class can do this, but it's just, you can't compare a bard XP with anything else, because like just kiting is just so much fun, and it's just so fast, and you can get a bard to level 50 just so fast just by doing that the whole time. It's crazy.
Yeah, and it is nothing compares to it. There are some things that come close, but nothing gives you the raw XP. And the other thing is that kind of creates a social disdain for the bard, because there are so many people who just hop on with that mentality of, I'm going to go get some XP, and they just ruin it for a zone. Like you've got to have some courtesy as a bard to make sure that you're not going to get in anybody's way. You're not going to train anybody. I can't tell you how many times I've been in Firiona Vi, and the Dralvargs in Firiona Vi are one of the best things to kite from like level 32 to 50, pretty much.
That's what I'm currently doing on my druid right now. I'm quad kiting them with my druid.
Yeah, it's great XP if you don't have to physically fight them. They're all, none of them are casters, which means everyone who kites loves them, which means that bards are there all the time. And I got actually, it's a cold open in one of my videos, a bard that died while kiting like 30 of them.
Oh,
and
wow.
They're just like all marching back in this big line, wiping out all the pilgrims, and it was complete chaos. And that's
the literal death train.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So like when you're doing that, when you're in earlier levels bard kiting, like if you ever did the centaurs in South Karana, you're not in anybody's way, and the centaurs are not aggro, so it's not like you're training anybody, and pretty much nobody kills the centaurs anyway, so it's not like you're stealing a camp. But then you get into the Kunark stuff, and it gets really hairy, and you can really make a bad name for yourself quick.
Yeah.
That is one thing that I did learn about classic EverQuest, is that you really do develop a reputation in the servers among the player base, because it feels like that, most of your actions that you do in that, even though I haven't done really anything terribly good or terribly bad, seems like a lot of people seem to have a reputation of sorts on kind of like things that they've done or who they are, which seems very unique to any game that I've played.
And if you are bad in a group multiple times, because you'll probably be leveling up at about the same pace as a couple of other people, and so you'll run into the same people grouping and in a couple of dungeons. And if you are good at playing your class, they will be asking you if you're going to be on for a while, if you want to group. And if you're bad at playing your class, you will never get tells. You just be shouting, looking for group all day, and
you're gonna be jeopardizing your leveling experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I actually have a little story about that. I was playing inside of Split Paw, and I grouped up with these random people. I've never played with them or talked to them before, and I joined them, and then immediately like 3 people left as soon as I joined the group, and I was like, what? Why are they all leaving? And then I got a tell from someone, and they're like, I guess they just don't want to play with you. And I was so confused because I've never played with these people in my life. and apparently they had got me confused to another druid that had a name so similar to mine. Like, and it's weird because you don't usually see people named anywhere close to Serwyn. It's just a weird name, and I don't remember what their name was, but they got me confused with like them. And I guess that druid would like steal all the loot, and they would take like all the you know how you get those split paw hide tunics and all that.
Yeah.
And then the scrolls you turn in for like a huge amount of XP. I guess that druid would just take all of it. And I was just so confused. And then I ended up clearing it all up and we grouped. But it was so weird because like I had never talked to them in my life and they just all like dipped. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, that's when someone else's bad reputation hurt you.
Right. But
so since I already had a bard on blue,
Mhm.
and when green launched, I made a dark elf shadow knight who I still have.
Oh.
And because I never spent a whole lot of time doing evil characters and I wanted to experience that. He was already up to level 9 before I decided that I wanted to start doing a YouTube Let's Play. And that was actually the second Dark Elf Shadow Knight that I made, because I made one on blue also. I just wanted to do that right at launch.
Right.
And I started my YouTube Let's Play when green was still doing hybrid XP penalty, which made it just terrible. So I play EverQuest, which means I hate myself. So I figured I might as well do it hard mode because that's what I do.
Right.
So I wanted to still do a hybrid, and then I thought to myself, hey, my main back on live was a ranger, so I already have a little bit of a knowledge of, like, I can still get around Kelethin without a map. So since I have that, I'm already pretty knowledgeable. It took a while.
Probably.
Yeah, I bet.
Oh, and that reminds me, a very interesting question that I've kind of thought of here. Do you have any like of your current tunes on Project 1999 based off of old characters from your past days playing EverQuest Live?
I was about to ask that.
Really?
The closest one would be Zaner, because my main back then was a ranger.
Wow.
A wood elf ranger specifically. So
right. That's cool.
All right.
What was your highest level character in like classic EverQuest?
Back on live, it was my ranger. Got her to level 35, and I think she was level 35. Like, I dinged 35 in the Valios era, which was very uncomfortable being level 35 in the Valios era on live, because everyone was in their 50s playing, doing raid content. So I was alone in Lake of Ill-Omen and doing all that stuff. And I did not ding again it throughout the rest of my time playing, because I was getting close to the end of high school. I was, extracurriculars, getting ready for college, stuff like that. I was playing very casually. And it was mostly just that was about the era that that Rangers got a lot of really great utility spells, and between Spirit of Wolf and Invisibility and a couple of other things, I could explore really easily, and with track and whatnot. So the Luklin expansion really gave me a lot to just run around and see, but I was not grinding XP.
Right.
Kind of how I am on Project 1999. I'm one of those people that like to. You can probably ask Caleb here. Personally, I don't level a lot. I'm one of those people that likes to go around and explore and sniff the flowers, I guess is what you would call it. But yeah, I do a lot of that because a lot of the stuff in that game is very unique, stuff that I have never seen before.
Right.
Which is just impressive to me.
Right. So what do you think your favorite starting city would be?
My favorite starting city. If you had asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said Kelethin, because that's what I knew, and that's what I love as a wood elf. Currently, I would say Kanos, and the reason why is because of the aqueducts.
Right.
I feel so bad. 20 years I spent not knowing how good the Kanos aqueducts were. And it wasn't until I was actually watching Zaid, who is another YouTuber. He's primarily a streamer, but
He's the one who handed me the CDs.
Oh, he is a great guy. He actually, when he started up his TLP guild, he had offered a couple of his viewers, myself being one of them, Chrono to play on live for free to get the guild going.
Wow.
So that's how good he is. So shout out to Zaid being a great guy. But he always, when he does his solo self-found plays, he always gets up to like level 5 and immediately goes to the Kanos aqueducts and gets there's 2 earrings you can get in a ring that give you early HP. Plus, it's just, even on Project 1999, the zone is completely ignored. So it's just,
yeah. There's not really a lot of people that tend to hang out in the
He did
Kanos
level
area.
5. He went in the aqueducts.
5 or 6. It's not something like you can't quite go there at that same level in Project 1999.
Right.
But on live you get, and he's good at the game. He's much better than I am. I'll freely admit that. He knows a lot of the science of it. He knows a lot of the pure numbers, and especially as a melee character, he can hop down there very early and wreck house.
Right. Because I remember going down there to get my I think it's the Testament of Vendar. I think that's what it's called. It's a little book for your druid, and it gives you like 9 wisdom or something. It's pretty cool. But yeah, I don't know. Things down there look pretty scary. I didn't know you could go there and like. What level do you think you could go down there in like P99? Like level 10?
Hold on a second. Let me get on. Pull it up real quick.
All right. While you're doing that, I might have a question for EQ Gamer. What's your favorite item that you have or had in EverQuest?
Does this include live or just classic?
Classic or just P99. What's your most
All right.
valuable item you've ever had on you?
Oh boy, my most valuable item right now is probably my Jarsath Trident on my warrior, because that is the most powerful weapon I have had in my possession so far.
Right. And that's like, I know you're not a leveler, so that's pretty cool. And he's like what, level 10, 12?
Yeah, he's level 13, I think.
Right.
Yeah, barbarian warrior, that is. He's camped somewhere in West Corona, just like my warrior on live, who was level 22 or 23 whenever I left him.
Right.
Yeah. Still out there somewhere.
Yeah. I think the most valuable item I've ever had on me is my maybe my saber-tooth amulet. I think is what it was. That's like 1,000 platinum. I might have had a more valuable thing, but I'm pretty sure that's probably one of my most valuable ones. I don't know how I just said that. Does it show you what level it is, Perry?
Yeah, I got it up right now. So I'm looking at the creatures down there, and the most common creatures that you're going to run into are like the giant sewer rats, the giant rats. The nesting rat is the first one that you can get something useful from, and they're all about level 5 and 6. So depending on your gear, like if you're well geared and you're good at the game, at that level you can still be fighting even cons. So I would probably wait until maybe 7 personally to go down there. But or if you're on live or if you're good like Zaid, 6 is perfectly fine. Just be a lot of resting between kills.
The good thing about that would probably be that there's not much competition down there for EXP.
Yeah, and it's so anyhow, that's Kanos definitely. I mean, the western end of the world is kind of, it's difficult to get there, so it's largely ignored.
Right.
Speaking of all these like comparisons, how good do you consider Project 1999 to be emulating a classic EverQuest experience?
From my recollection, they got all of the main things right.
That's good.
The important things to me are things like making sure that, how can I put this? There's a lot of work. There's these huge barriers to get past that make the world scary until you're at an appropriate level for it to not be scary.
That is very true.
Right.
Like everyone needs to experience their first time either sneaking or begging for invis and sprinting through Highhold just to get from the common lands to the Karanas.
Oh man,
We've
me and my
done that.
friend just did that recently.
It's on our YouTube channels, actually.
Oh, really?
Not mine, but I still have the footage somewhere. I think. Hope so.
Right.
Yeah, and that's like the first time you do it, it's such a nail biter because so many
It
things
is.
can go wrong. You can get lost, and then time passes. You level up, and eventually you just run through. As obviously when I'm on Zaner, if I have to run through Highhold, I'll always check for the polished granite tomahawk and the Shralock pack guy. But other than that, I'm just running right through. And the fact that you get that experience of being stuck at a low level for long enough that you get used to being scared of certain places, that you can eventually go back and not be scared of them anymore. That's
the time that you're able to walk through, you feel so powerful being able to do that.
I remember doing that on my druid for the first time, and I was always be so scared to go through high pass. I would always just get a port to go past it somewhere. And once I reached in my 30s on my druid, I was just like, oh, this is a cakewalk now. I can just walk right through.
Yeah, and that's and on live, largely because of the Planes of Power ports, a lot of that isn't there. You don't have like lockouts of the world. And I know a lot of people complain about because there's specific things on Project 1999 that aren't live, that because the population is different now than it was 20 years ago, and there isn't the source code hunters like there is now. Back then, people were happy just to play and not worry about whether or not there's a 20% XP penalty if your pet takes half the damage or whatever.
Right. I had a question. I don't remember. Oh yeah. What do you think the best, like, I think for all classes, what's your favorite like twinking starting weapon? Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. The something droppable that's really awesome, and that's another complex question, because you got to remember, I spent so long not experiencing anything really above level 35.
Right.
So way back in the day, when I played, I wasn't really looking at numbers. Like I said, I think a lot of the EverQuest community wasn't, but definitely not the casual players like me. And I spent so much time, years, leveling up in the Fate arcs that I would see people running around with the Minotaur battle axes. That was the standard. And it wasn't until much later that I learned that you just get bags full of those when you kill Minotaurs. So if you're in Steamfont, then you basically do a quick tour of the island and you just give them away to all sorts of newbies.
Right.
And it's really iconic because there was a couple other items that had the same image, but you probably weren't using those items. Like no one would be using a rusty battle axe if they had that image. It was the Minotaur battle axe if you were in the Greater Fate arc. So that one is probably my favorite, not because it's good, but because it became the known, like,
It's
I'm
iconic.
I'm giving this away. And if you were lucky enough to get one of those, then every rusty weapon you got after that was just vendor trash. You weren't saving them and trying to sharpen them and whatnot. So
you can sharpen weapons in that game?
Yeah. It's generally how, if you're leveling up, if you want to level up a trade skill while you level up, you buy sharpening stones, which every city has someone who sells sharpening stones, and you can sharpen rusty weapons, almost all rusty weapons. You put a rusty weapon and a sharpening stone in a forge, and there is a chance that you will get a tarnished weapon as a result, and it has like one less delay and maybe one more damage.
Was not aware of that. I didn't know you could do that. That's pretty
So
cool.
we're learning from the underground here.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is a super cheap way to get your blacksmithing up to like level 20.
Right. And
That's
I remember I tried to get into a trade school with my druid. I think I have like level 50 tailoring or something like that. It's so expensive, and I picked the worst time to do it. It's whenever the auction house, everything like Keola oil you need for like absolutely everything. And I spent hundreds of platinum trying to get Keola oil, and now it's like not worth anything. So I picked like the worst time. But yeah, it's expensive to get into, but that's pretty cool. I'll keep that in mind.
And another long question that I've kind of been wanting to ask another Project 1999 player is, what do you think will happen most likely in the future? Do you think that they're going to merge green and blue, or do you think they're going to make an own independent server? A lot of talk about that's been going around.
There is a lot of talk, and I will say this. But before I give my answer to that question, I want to say, whatever happens, of all the things that people have considered and are discussing, I'll be happy with it.
Right.
But I would prefer that they stick with the original plan of merging the servers. And the main reason why is because I planned out my character names to allow for a server merger. So it's incredibly selfish and meaningless to the larger scope of the game, because I know if they do merge, it's going to completely wreck Blue's economy, because there was a lot of stuff that was going to be either nerfed or taken out of the game that people hoarded, every single one that became available early on,
Right.
knowing that they were, because the original plan was to merge green and blue and then start another green. And there's a lot of stuff that people are just sitting on until the merger. And I'm one of those people. I have a seaworthy planking in the bank. I have no intention of ever getting a BFG, but on blue currently, multi-questing that is worth 100,000 platinum. So,
Wow. All right.
that's my nest egg.
Yeah.
Very well.
Now I'm regretting me selling a bunch of the stuff that I had before.
Well, also keep in mind that there's no telling what the economy is going to do when and if it merges, right? That is currently $100,000 or 100,000 platinum, because currently it's not possible to get more of it. And people knew that, and people hoarded them. So it's just a matter of how many people will still have them in the merger. The price will dip, but how much? Is it gonna go down to 50,000? Is it gonna go down to 1,000? And we'll find out.
Right. So this is kind of a random question, but I seen it in my guild chat. What are OT hammers?
OT hammer. It stands for over there hammer. Let me pull up the quest. It's the actual name is the workers sledge mallet.
Right.
Yeah.
We're saving up for some puppet strings, which are crazy expensive, but what do those do also? Puppet strings.
The puppet strings. So the reason why you need the puppet strings to get the worker's sledge mallet is because puppet strings are a charm. They allow you to charm up to like level 51 mobs or something like that. It's a very expensive item. It's only got so many charges. So your guild chat will usually be the price of the item divided by however many charge it has, and then like 20% taken off because the guild pays for it, because the guild wants people to have these sledge mallets. So the quest is a very simple quest. There's just a mob that you give a jade to, and you get the worker's sledge mallet.
Oh, so I'm guessing that's a super nice mallet.
Well, what it does is it's not a great mallet, but it procs a port to the over there.
Oh, that's kind of weird.
So basically anybody can port to the over there with this item, and it's a proc, so it doesn't have charges. So when you're in a raid, you get to the end of the raid, and if it's like Sibyllus, where you crawl down to the end of it, everyone's got to get out. All the casters can gate. Everyone else groups into groups with druids and wizards to get out. Everyone who's got a sledge mallet just pairs up and duels with each other, and one procs and disappears, and then the losers will pair up again, and everyone just mallets out of whatever dungeon it is.
I wonder what happens to the last person.
The last person gets a port from a druid.
Oh, okay.
That's your job,
yeah.
Sturman.
Or you can also mallet off of people's pets too.
Oh, that's cool. Ooh, what was I gonna say? Yeah. So, what would be your favorite raid?
My favorite raid. Okay, so keep in mind, every raid I have done in EverQuest, you've seen on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
So I am experiencing raid content for the first time ever. So there's a lot of stuff that I was really excited about, that I'd heard a lot about, and then was largely underwhelmed with. Mainly the Plane of Sky. I was so excited about the Plane of Sky because I've been hearing about it so much for 20 years. And then I got there, and it is a lot simpler than I was expecting.
Right.
So Plane of Sky was kind of a letdown as far as raids go. Let me try and think of one that.
So another thing I was going to ask is, there's so many people that go to raids, right? Like, what would be your usual like player count for a one raid?
It depends on what it is.
Right.
It'll be between like 20 and 40. I think we had my guild had a run at Trackanon today. We actually got it. And I think like
really?
Yeah. Shout out to Castle for getting the Trackanon pop on June 5th. And we actually killed it from engage to death was 27 seconds. So it didn't even do its AoE.
Oh, wow.
But that we had like 45 people, but right now Trackanon is very important. So like if we do a Plane of Sky raid, there might be 25 people that show up because Plane of Sky has been out for so long. People mostly go to Plane of Sky to get gear for alts. It's not high on many people's priority lists.
That brings me to the next question I was going to ask you. So there's so many people in raids. Does everybody in the raid just roll a dice, and whoever rolls the highest one gets the item?
Oh no, it's depending on the item, it will be what's called DKP. And this is actually one of my favorite things about EverQuest, because this is one of the things that goes all the way back to 1999 era video games. To decide who gets an item, you have a completely built outside of the game currency system based on your participation in the guild. So it's called DKP, or Dragon Kill Points, or Dungeon Kill Points, whatever. It doesn't really matter what it stands for because everyone just says DKP now.
Right.
But every time you go to a raid, if it's like a multi-hour raid, you get like 1 DKP per hour, and they log it onto a website that has the code. The code is available. It's open source. You make your own website for it, and someone in the guild hosts the website that shows everybody's DKP, and then someone will put up the items if they're no drop in auction, and everybody who can use it will bid DKP.
Oh.
So it's just it's an auction.
Basically, if you're doing your first raid, you're not getting squat.
That's right. I don't know if this is public knowledge, so I'm not going to give out specific numbers, but Castle does, if it's your first raid, they front you the amount of DKP you're expecting to get that raid. So you sort of have an advance. But after your first raid, it's what you had at the beginning of the raid. No loans.
Okay. Yeah, I was in Castle for a bit, but I was a druid and I needed money, so I had to unfortunately leave Castle and join Dialport, which Dialport's a great guild too. So shout out to Aelith for running that.
Shout out to Dialport for providing a much needed service.
Yeah, no kidding.
I can't tell you how many times, because I work, my job rotates me to night, so sometimes I'll be on at like 2 a.m. and there's 400 people on the server, and the only porter is one level 36 druid in Dialport.
Yeah, definitely. If you guys need a port, I'm doing a little plug here. Send a tell to Serwin.
CY or
Yeah,
something. I forgot
it's
how I spelled your name.
free ports to you too. Obviously,
Uh, free for everybody. He's the Oprah Winfrey of ports, by the way.
Well,
That's just
I've been
him.
given too many donations since making the YouTube channel to port for free. I always tip my porters.
Right.
Tip your porters, kids, and no one will tell you how much to tip. So 1 platinum per level, rounded down to the next 10. So if you're level 15, you should be tipping 10 platinum. If you're level 55, you should be tipping 50 platinum.
Oh,
I like
all
it.
right.
Lately, I have been. Sorry, what were you saying?
Nobody ever brings that up, but that's completely affordable. It's that scales with what you can afford at any given level. And even as a casual player, I've always been able to afford sticking to that rule. And sometimes I'll tip that and people will be like, "This is ridiculous." I'm like, "No, this is what it should be. You should not be accepting less than this."
Right. Whenever whenever I first started porting, I was not receiving much. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, there'd be level 60 people giving me 2 platinum, and at the time I was like, "Wow, I'm making so much platinum right now." And then as I've gotten up, people have started to give me more. I mean, I've gotten like when I get like level 50, when I get like 50 platinum donations, I get so excited because like that's good money at that point. But yeah, lately I've been getting some higher donations. Yesterday, someone gave me 100 platinum donation. I was really excited about that.
And sometimes you're coming through in the clutch too. So
Right.
if a lot of times I will be at the point where I need to get off my computer. You know, my family needs me, but I'm stuck somewhere and I just need a port. And
Right.
Happened a few days ago with Sirwin on the Sirwin alt for Caleb. We were
Oh yeah.
stuck. I think it was what was it? I don't remember if it was like somewhere on the Fadeware, and he had somewhere to go, and we just needed to get a port to get out of there, and then dial a port yet again. Saved our lives thanks to them.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about. Was that near Crushbone, I think?
Yeah, there's where it was. Crushbone.
Okay. Yeah, I think I
Yeah,
know what you're talking about.
yeah, that nightmarish situation that happened.
Yeah, that was crazy. But yeah, you guys can be expecting a few more uploads from me, hopefully. I have some recorded, but editing a podcast and videos at the same time, it's a lot. So be a little patient.
I need to upload too. I'm not even sure if I've uploaded recently.
So, what's your favorite? Okay, this is an odd question, but have you ever played a pet class?
You know, it's funny you bring that up. The very first character that I made in EverQuest, my friend was talking about who told me about the game. He got it before I convinced my stepdad to get it. So the first couple months that I played was over at his house. And so the first character I ever made was a high elf magician. So yes, I did play a pet class. I only got up to level 6 on him, but
Fellow mage.
Right. What was your favorite one? Did you like the fire pet, the earth pet, water, air?
so again, this goes back to I back then in 1999. I didn't look at the numbers, and I wish I'd never looked at the numbers because I love fire. If you go back far enough in my YouTube channel, before I was doing video games, every one of my videos had something to do with fire. I was either blacksmithing or eating fire or making rocket fuel. So everything's fire related. Um, I cosplay as Scorpion.
Yeah.
So when I played
Huh.
as a magician, it was fire pet. Period. Um,
Oh,
so,
that's a good one.
but it's only because I love fire, and when fire is an option, I choose it every time.
It
Well,
is
good thing.
destructive.
I think the fire pet is probably the one. I think fire does the most damage with the damage shield and throws flame bolts.
Yeah. So it's got the damage shield, and I think it has the highest output. But the Earth Pet roots
Mm-hmm.
and later Earth Pet's slow, I think, which is why everybody uses the Earth Pet at high levels.
Right.
And I think the Yeah, so the earth pet slows, and I can't remember, the water pet does something else that people like to use it for. But
I can't remember what it does either.
But like at high levels, nobody uses the fire pet.
Right.
Which, like I said, I wish I'd never looked at the numbers so I could still love the fire pet. But it is what it is.
You got any more questions for him?
Kind of do. So, oh man, I gotta really think before I ask this one. So, what do you consider, um, what do you consider to be the absolute end of EverQuest? This is a very difficult question because it's a game with no end.
Right. In reality, the game will never end. It will always have a player base. So what you're talking about is when let me reword it and see if you like this wording better.
All right.
When did the spirit of EverQuest die? Because
Oh boy.
the game continues, right? The game will always continue. But we talked about Project 1999 and how well they captured the classic experience, right? There was some point at which that experience it turned into something that had to be captured because it was gone.
Right.
So at what point did Project 1999 become a necessity is kind of the way I'm interpreting that question in my mind.
It was really like a lot of the players kind of joined it, even though I wasn't around. I was like 3. 2009, 2010, 11. A lot of people seem to kind of spring up around that time and caught word of it, from what I know.
Yeah, and that's when it first went live, right?
Yes.
It's not when the original 2 guys started working on the project. That's just when they put it forward. So sometime before that was when they decided that it was something that had to happen. So and I don't really know if I have the right answer to this. The popular answer would be either Lukeland or Planes of Power, because the fact that they gave you the ability to port without interacting with anybody else, those largely killed the wizard class. Like the wizard in that era was a completely unplayed class because there was no reason for it.
Right.
Seems like a lot of classes suffered that fate.
Yeah. And on top of that, they were trying to push new classes and new class race combinations. So they were sort of intending to do that, but the fact that you can make a class completely meaningless, because up until that, Wizards had the best ports. They do get better ports and faster and more mana efficient ports than Druids get, and translocates and stuff like that. And they were the only ones who could port to Plane of Hate and Plane of Sky, which everyone was kind of expecting that trend to continue. There always to be something that the Wizards got that the Druids didn't, because they were the porting class. They were using, in the lore, they're deciphering the Combine knowledge for their power. But starting even with Valios, that was going away. They were just getting the same ports. They were just porting to the same places together. And when you combine that, and the Wizards are no better at porting than Druids. Druids have everything else. Druids can Spirit a Wolf. Druids can Quad Kite, and I think better than Wizards. And all the power leveling stuff. So Wizards right off the bat just like wiped out if not in the Shadows of Lukeland, definitely Planes of Power. And then when they went back and started changing newbie zones shortly after that, that's kind of when I feel like what I loved about the game was disappearing. So I'd say Planes of Power. At the end of Planes of Power, it was what I fell in love with in 1999 was gone. It had taken a new form, and a form that it had to take based on what was going on at the time. But that's when I think Project 1999 or something like it, the necessity for that began.
Right.
All right. Seems kind of
So,
true.
I asked EQ Gamer this question earlier. What do you think oh wait, I think you said this earlier, but what's the most valuable item that you have or have had on you?
Okay,
So
think of it.
I didn't say this earlier. I heard you guys talking about it. So my current most valuable item that I have on a character, and I say this regularly because when I did a couple of giveaways and people were asking when I was going to give this away, and I had to
Oh.
repeatedly answer, I will not be giving this away because it's not mine, it's on loan. My breastplate on Zaner is a rubicite breastplate, which is one of those items that doesn't drop anymore, right? Which was hoarded on green in the hopes of going to blue.
Right.
And it's I think it's worth around 11K.
Yeah.
And yeah, 10 to 12K. So it's and it's the reason why the only thing it has is a regen worn effect. So
it's a great regen. It's like it's not quite. Is it even comparable to fungal regrowth or no?
I think it's a plus 3 HP regen. So let me.
I'm pretty sure fungal regrowth is like, is it 15?
Fungal regrowth is 5. Excuse me, 5 to 15. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, it's 15. So it's the
Right.
the fungus covered scaled tunic is always going to be your highest regen, and it's just an even better item. But that's the reason why it's 70K.
Right. And it's kind of sad. I mean, I went on live, right? And I play on Bertoxulus on live, or for Unave, I play on both. And I looked at the bazaar, and there was only one fungal or fungi tunic on there, and it was still expensive. I think they were selling it for like 100K, but they nerfed it so bad to where it's basically just pointless now because of all the Defiant gear and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. They made it pointless, but I still use a fungi staff on my druid.
Yeah, that 15 HP regen is a big deal. I mean, there was a huge difference I noticed wearing the ruby breastplate, just going from nothing to plus 3.
Right.
That was the reason it was loaned to me. It was a viewer who was it was after a stream, and she said that she liked watching the show but couldn't stand all the sitting and waiting for my health to come back. So she loaned me this expensive breastplate just to move the show along a little bit.
It's like a compliment. It's like a backhanded compliment, but
Yeah.
it's nice.
Pretty much, yeah.
You use this until you get something better because this is terrible to watch.
Right. Yeah. It's something you got to give thanks to, but
It's
it
a
makes
good
you think.
insult.
Right. So, we were talking about this before the show. What was your favorite story? Like, what was your favorite moment that you've went through in EverQuest that you were just super excited about?
So my favorite moment in EverQuest, and actually this is great because this is the first question that brings up something that I haven't talked about in one of my streams or episodes. The Halloween event in the year 2000. And
I hear a lot of people talk about this.
yeah, it was a huge deal. So this was after the Plane of Fear and Plane of Hate were released. So what they did on Halloween was there were zones that they randomly picked, and they would spawn the trash mobs from those planes. It was like a plane takeover. And the thing about that is, if the items that drop off of those are no drop, right? And normally you have to be level 46 to be able to access that. But these mobs were spawning in like the one that I managed to get to was East Karanas. I was leveling in North Karana at the time, and someone was like, "Hey, the event's happening in East Karana." We all crossed the bridge, and there was just like chaos. All the NPCs were dead because all this stuff was dropping, and you had like 3 or 4 of the biggest raid guilds running around. They would kill things, and then they would shout over the zone, the location of the corpse and what was on it. So if you were the class that could use that item, you were doing a click fest over the corpse for it to get to the point where you could loot it. And I actually looted on my ranger. There was a head item. There was a Plane of Fear head item that I had on my ranger, and I still I'm sure if I logged into the character she'd still have it now, but because I only got to level 35, there was no way I was ever going to get something better than that. So that was by far the most exciting thing. And I know people keep talking about it, and I know Nilbog and Rogian are like still trying to figure out how to make something like that as exciting and as effective as it was on live on P99. So hopefully I got my fingers crossed that they'll figure something out, because that was awesome.
So that reminds me, if anyone here is like a longtime viewer of my channel, which probably not. I think I started doing EverQuest videos when I was like 11, so that had to have been painful with my squeaky voice. Me and EQ Gamer, we were walking around. It was near Halloween, or it might have been on Halloween, and we were playing in Kellethan. We seen these gigantic skull monsters, and we were like, "These aren't from Kellethan. What are these?" And they were red, and it was just so confusing because we thought there was an update or something that they added these big skull things just randomly in Kellethan. So that answers my question. I never knew what those were. So I guess that was like a Plane Hate and Fear event or something for Halloween. So I guess they do those on live still.
Well, that's awesome that they still do that on live, because I know for a couple of years after it they didn't.
Right.
But it was sort of to bridge the gap. If you look at the timing and the expansions back then, there was a big gap, and then they started doing like much quicker expansions. So that's why I think they stopped doing that for a couple of years. And it's great to hear that they got back into it, because I know everyone who got to experience that way back in 2000 loved it. At least the people who got to get planar items at level 20 like I did.
Right. So you play on live or no?
I have not logged into live in a long time. I still have an account, and I keep telling myself that I'm gonna get on and do more with it. But like we discussed, the EverQuest fan base is people with a lot going on outside of video games. I really only have time for one MMO right now, and that's Project 1999.
Right. So I switched over to P99 and I completely forgot about live for a long time. I logged in like a month ago and now I'm hooked on live again. I'm hooked on both. I play a lot of both, but live, I made a XR Warrior and it's at level like 50 now or something like that. And it's fun. Just the way I see live now, it's not even, I wouldn't even consider it EverQuest. It's like EverQuest. It is EverQuest. It has the base of EverQuest, but it's like a whole different thing because you can't look at EverQuest live and say that it's even comparable to P99. So I think that it's nice to go around like high level zones that you've always wanted to go to in P99 but never able to because you were too low level. So City of Mist, I went there and I like went through and I beat the main boss in the like hall or whatever, which was pretty cool because I was never able to do that on live or P99 because I'm too low level for that. But it was pretty cool going around and seeing all of it.
Yeah, that's actually that's the reason why I learned how to host my own EQEMU server. Which, by the way, if you play on Project 1999, scroll through because every once in a while I'll be on because I like to use that to plan stuff, and I was going to use it to shoot for different interludes and stuff like that for my videos. But you'll see Perry Lovewhistle's private EverQuest server, which that's just the title of it. Anyone can feel free to pop on.
Wait, really? I didn't know you had a server. So what's different about it?
Oh, nothing. It's like the only difference is I gave myself God mode and the ability to walk around zones that I'll never see on Project 1999.
Oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
So it's only up when I'm doing that. So, periodically for about 2 hours at a time. But
right.
If anyone pops in, I'll give you God mode too and we can hop around together.
That'd be pretty cool.
Pretty
So I
cool.
had an idea. I'm not sure if I should have brought this up on the podcast or not, but I think all three of us should do like a collab one day. I think that'd be a pretty cool YouTube video.
I agree. What I haven't been keeping up on you guys' videos. Where are your characters now?
Oh, boy.
We're both altaholics, so we'll jump around a lot. I'm trying to fix that. I'm trying just to stick with one thing, and I have made a YouTube video, but it was on live. But we've been doing the podcast thing, and we made the enchanter and mage for the podcast to level up during the podcast. Sorry, I said podcast so many times, but I think right now, what were we doing? Was it the bard and warrior that we were doing on our YouTube channels?
Yeah. I was
Okay.
mainly the warrior, and I have one video up on my ranger for like 4 minutes. It was just me showing that I'm back. And then after that, I had some advertisement for the podcast, and that was about it.
Well, obviously I have Zaner, who's fully willing to go anywhere and track any mobs to help you guys level. But as far as alts go, I have Engrosser, who is now level 6 due to a video that I haven't published yet. I've got it shot, but I need to publish it.
That's perfect, actually, because the things we're leveling right now are 7.
Okay. So he's level 6. He's a dwarf warrior. I also have my dark elf shadow knight and a high elf paladin, who are levels 9 and 5 respectively.
Okay. Yeah. Whatever you want, whatever character you want to play, that we should do a collab. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that sounds great. Shoot me an email and we'll coordinate that. I think that would be great.
All right, sounds good. We might have to wrap it up soon because this is going to be a long episode.
I don't really have much else to talk about. This pretty much answered majority of my questions.
Right, we went through all of our questions. Do you have any questions to ask us? That's
Yeah, that's
the only questions I was going to ask was what characters do you guys have, so that Zaner could potentially run around and grab some items for you. But we already kind of did that.
right.
I have a barbarian warrior, Felinar. I have my ranger, Felstead, 2 Fs. I have a mage, Galligan. He's level 6 or 7. And those are my 3 characters that I own. A mage, a warrior, and a ranger. And a shaman, Baradorm. He's
Does your ranger have a true shot bow yet?
No, I do not. I have a hickory bow.
Because I was actually thinking about doing taking Zaner and farming everything that I need to make true shot bows, probably like 20 attempts, and then just going to Kellethan and doing a big true shot bow giveaway every time, just have people get in the line. But that would also put me, so I'd be making extra true shot bows, but I'd also be at the Mino Caves in Steamfont for a while. And my intention while there would be to kill the Minotaur hero as many times as I could and give away hero bracers.
Ooh, hero bracers.
So we could, if you guys have characters that can get to Steamfont, we might just do a hero bracer day where I kill the Minotaur hero as many times as I can, give away as many hero bracers as I can, and you guys could be there for that.
We are in Steamfont as we're talking, actually.
All right. Well, that sounds like a plan then.
Yeah. I have a 34 druid. I think a level 6 necromancer. My level 7 chanter, and then a level 13 bard, and I think that's it. And we don't talk about the rest. I've accidentally deleted 2 characters that were both super twinked, but we don't talk about that.
Yeah, accidental deletions are fun.
Yeah, but I'm getting them back soon, hopefully.
Well, we'll have to set up a time for that, and then I'll put a plug on my YouTube channel and get as many people in there as possible.
Awesome.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, do you want to plug anything before we dip?
Well, obviously my YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/Perry Lovewhistle, spelled exactly how it sounds.
Yep.
All right. I'll link that in the description. Both of yours.
All right.
But
And overall, yeah, I've had a lot of fun talking. Really, it's been really
yeah, it's been
interesting.
great.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This is I feel like a real accomplished YouTuber. This is actually my first guest appearance on anything.
Oh, nice.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Well, I
nice.
appreciate you for taking us up on the offer. All right.
Okay. We'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.
All right, see you guys in game.
Appreciate you coming on the show, Perry.
Thanks for having
Yes,
me.